I haven't hidden the boys. I've put them straight in, and they are with us. Gentlemen, how are you this evening?
All right, mate.
How's the week been? What we have for tea and what we're drinking?
I am drinking.
Start with you, Nicky. All right, Craig, we'll start with you then.
How rude. I'm just drinking black coming out of this big bad boy.
What do you have for tea?
I have had sausage rolls.
And how's your week been so far?
Busy. Absolutely busy.
Nicky?
Unfortunately, I had to go to work on Monday.
Sorry, Craig. What do you say?
No, I'll carry on.
Say, Nicky, what have you had for tea? How's your week been? How are you, mate? What's your vaping? You know, the general. You know, you've done it for a couple of weeks now, both of you should know the questions.
I'm drinking some shitty Nestle water. I'm vaping Geek Vape, Biden Pods, Emmy with the K-Fun clone, and Triple Stack Dirtier. I've not had any tea yet, and week's been okay.
Sweet. That's what we like to hear. So, Paul should be, mate. Paul should be with us in a couple of minutes' time or whenever he gets around to it, but he should be with us. Evening to everybody in chat so far joining us. If you don't mind giving us a share, guys, we would appreciate that.
Yeah.
And then we can get on with the show. So this week, boys, we've got a few things to go over, a few things to discuss, a few videos to watch. So if you guys are up for a fun-packed night of information and giggles, and I think we should crack on with the evening. So the first subject we're going to talk about, because obviously we haven't been on the show for last week. We missed last week's show. We're on this week. And I did have some subjects that we had to discuss last week, but due to unseeable circumstances, I couldn't do the show last week. So I know Nicky Pixie were all over news this week and last week. They're telling me all that's going on so I can check up, but I have been doing a little bit of my own stuff. So first subject I want to go into, and we're going to watch a video, and this is about a teen who is blaming vaping for his collapsed lungs. So there is a few stories going out at the moment about 100 people, up to 100 people having some sort of lung disease in the States. But this is a total different actual thing that's gone on. And I believe the person in this video is actually suing Juul for his lung collapsing. So I'm gonna share this video. Bear with me one moment.
Sorry about that. My cat was just about to be sick.
No worries. Right, can you see my screen?
No.
Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can see my screen, yeah?
Yeah.
Tell me if you can hear the audio as well.
Vaping could be to blame for nearly 100 severe lung illnesses. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention just announced an investigation.
Can you hear the audio?
Into 94 cases where e-cigarette users inhale the vapors. Only on CBS this morning, our consumer investigative correspondent Anna Warner, her name has not changed, spoke to an 18-year-old who blames vaping for his own lung injury. And Anna, now we're hearing he wants others to stop. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Gail. That's right. It's important to point out that what happened to this young man from Florida is different from the lung injuries suffered by teens that the CDC and several states are now investigating. But Chance Amarata says the severity of his lung injury was a wake-up call for him, and he thinks the consequences should make others think too.
It felt like I was genuinely having a heart attack.
Like you're having a heart attack.
Like I was having a heart attack.
That's how 18-year-old Chance Amarata describes the feeling when his medical emergency began about 3 weeks ago.
I would say like my chest felt like it was collapsing and tightening up and I couldn't breathe.
Emergency room doctors told him his right lung had a hole in it and had collapsed.
I just freaked out and they said, your lung has collapsed. You have to go to surgery right now.
His Instagram videos show the tube doctors put in his chest. 2 days later, a surgeon operated to repair the hole in his lung. The surgeon told CBS News Amarata's lungs were inflamed, which could have come from something he'd been inhaling.
But now, you've never been a smoker, a traditional smoker.
Never. Yeah.
What have you been using?
Juul.
Juul.
Amarata says he started using Juul e-cigarettes a year and a half ago when he was 16. He now believes Juuls caused his lung injury. So he started a social media campaign to get others to get rid of their Juuls. Thousands of messages have poured in over the past few weeks.
You inspired me to stop, as well as many other teenagers. I used to vape for about 2 years now, and I finally decided to stop. I didn't know I'd be able to reach people from all around the world, and it really just touches my heart.
Doctors told CBS News it's possible Amarata's vaping may have contributed to a small pocket in his lung blowing out, causing the lung collapse. Juul declined to comment on his case. But around the country, the CDC and state health departments are now investigating something else. What the CDC calls 94 possible cases of severe lung illness associated with vaping in 14 states from June 28th to August 15th of this year. It's not clear which brand or product the individuals used or what substance they were inhaling.
You first started hearing about these cases how long ago?
Oh, all within the last month.
Just a month.
Yes.
The chief medical officer of Children's Minnesota Hospitals, Dr. Emily Chapman, says her doctors have been treating 4 boys and girls ages 16 through 18 with acute lung injuries.
They don't fit anything else that we have previously worked on, understood about lung disease that's more typical in teens.
So essentially you're seeing a pattern.
A pattern that's different from what we've seen before, yes. This is throughout the entire lung. So on the chest x-ray, the whole thing looks abnormal equally throughout the entire lung.
For example, take a look at a normal lung on an x-ray and here in a cross-section view. Now take a look at that same cross-section view of a patient in Hawaii whose doctor says he has the same type of acute lung injury associated with vaping. Chapman says her patients decline rapidly in just a week.
You're basically saying that over a week's time, their lungs are failing.
They go from healthy adolescence to really in a life-threatening situation.
Chance Amarata says his experience frightened him, but the response was inspiring.
If I'm able to have such an effect on the world, I think I would go through it again, just so that I could help as many people as possible.
Now, as we said, Juul declined to comment on Chance Amarata's case, but it said it is monitoring the reports on those other widespread lung injuries.
There you go. So what do you think to that one? So basically what he's saying is, is that basically the Juul messed me up. What do you guys think about that?
Well, my number one on that, what is going on with his hair? Number one. So I'm not taking what's going on with his hair. Oh, got wrong. You know what I mean? No, but in saying, oh, he does it from 16 minutes from there. Well, that's his own bleeding fault for the start, though, isn't it? I mean, how long has everyone else been vaping for? Like, how long have you been vaping for?
7.
Yeah, same as me. And I've never had this. I've found it to help me. So, first person to say, I've got a hole in my lung. Now, I think he's talking out of his ass a little bit, to be honest with you.
I can't disagree. I think it's something else. Like they also stated in the report, if you saw the report, is they don't know the substance they was using in there. And obviously we're having all these reports about what's going on around the rest of the US, and they're not. What they're doing is they're putting vaping underneath everything. So if you're using THC oil, if you're using nicotine, what they're not doing is they're not segregating the difference between vaping nicotine and vaping THC or CBD. They're just putting it under the same bracket. That's the worrying bit for me, is them putting it under that bracket. They're not segregating the different brackets between vaping nicotine and vaping THC, because that seems to be what is messing up people a lot. And I'd just like to welcome Pixie and the boss man to the stream. Good evening, the pair of you.
Evening.
I don't know if you just saw. Did you just see that report, Paul? See that video?
I've seen some of it. It's a bit like injecting insulin and then injecting heroin and blaming the fucking needle.
Take the words out of my mouth.
I mean, literally, it's crazy.
The thing is, though, why, if they are blaming Juul, right? Why the fuck would Juul, as a company, do that to discourage people from using their products when we all know Juul is worth fucking how much?
Billions. But
exactly.
It's, you know what, mate? Vaping is not in Juul's interest. I read in the week about they've renounced their membership with the VTA or whatever it is, Vaping Trade Association in America. Basically, because the VTA are the people that are taking the FDA to court over the legislation on banning flavors, etc. And Juul put out a public statement saying that they're going to be reneging their membership when it expires at the end of August, that they do not agree with the VTA, that they absolutely agree with the FDA, and that they believe that, basically, reading into that report, it's going to cost up to $2 million per flavour per strength to register.
Jesus.
There aren't many boys that can afford to do that shit.
They are the boys that can do it, aren't they? They are the only boys that can do it.
How come Adam's not in the show?
Oh, he's in the waiting room.
He's
hiding in the waiting room.
Evening, Adam.
There he is.
How is everyone?
All right, mate, you.
It looks like we got two big Toms in.
What's going on, yeah?
Yeah, so we've got a fair few videos to go over this week about this stuff that's going on. And basically what I was saying is the difference in segregating, you know, the media is not segregating vaping nicotine and vaping THC or CBD. They're keeping it all under one thing. So everyone that just knows vaping as vaping nicotine is thinking that it's vaping that nicotine is doing this problem, having this issue across the United States.
Mate, I mean, that report that I read in the week basically said that because Philip Morris did put money into Juul.
Come back in, I can't hear a thing.
Philip Morris put money into Juul, didn't
they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, his subsidiary country.
$210 billion they put into that company. 210 billion, right? So that's like more money than what we've made this year. And reading between the lines of that report, there was people that were saying that ultimately vaping's not in the interest of Philip Morris. That ultimately to get people back on tobacco is the way. And I said this 4 years ago, that in my opinion, big tobacco will stomp this industry. They'll gain control, then they'll phase it out. And certainly in America, they will phase it out through legislation. Because if every other person says we can't afford to regulate, and that leaves Juul and the like in charge, they can just say, "Oh fuck it, we're not going to bother." Then there's no industry. Simple as.
But do you not think they're targeting America? Because I don't feel like we've had that much of an issue. So do you think we're going to follow on with it, or do you feel like
I just think that if you look at the size of America compared to the size of the UK, it's a bit like trying to compare me making a car in my garage against the likes of fucking VW. It's just like
the stats in the UK, Paul, are 2.2 million vapors in the UK and 10 million vapors in the US.
So it's worth That's about 15% of the overall revenue from both of the countries. And UK is about 15% of that. So the bottom line is you're gonna fry the biggest fish first, in my opinion. You're gonna lock off America, mate. We've always said it, and we've always been absolutely blessed with the way TPD fell in our favour, and for us, draconian as it was, and for as onerous it was on certainly on liquid manufacturers and the like. The things that Shortfill has been allowed to carry on the way it has for the last 2.5 years suggests that they're not really asked at this minute in time. I read a report about 4 weeks ago. In fact, I tell a lie, James Burr showed me a list of, he was sent from Trading Standards that showed where in the order of priority vaping was, and it was at the very, 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 very bottom of the list. I think since TPD was released, there's only been 14 visits to anyone anywhere in the country regarding non-TPD products. One of them was to James about a bubble glass for a litre, and they were saying that it's non-TPD. He was saying that because this tank was available pre-TPD, he's just offering serviceable parts to the customers that have already invested in that tank. And the bloke from Trading Standards said, fair enough then, instead of just saying 6mm bubble glass on your website or whatever the capacity was, 8mm bubble glass, just change it to bubble glass. No, I don't think I'm talking out of turn saying that. James told me in his office, but he certainly showed me a list of what they'd showed him, and things like counterfeit trainers being sold from a butcher's was higher priority than non-TPD product in a vape shop. It was literally at the bottom of the list, and they were saying that they were that understaffed that the reality is the only time they'll ever get down to the bottom of that list and execute anything is when everything above it has been satisfied and done, and that'll never happen.
So they don't seem to sort of give a fuck about regulating.
The piss up in the brewery comes to mind, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, you know what? I think even the way it was implemented, we got off fairly lightly. The only thing I never agreed with was the bottle size. I never agreed with 10mm bottle size because it just seems ridiculous to me. And I never agreed with 2mm tank on the basis that they should have at least had a 10mm tank, because you can have a 10mm bottle of liquid. So to have one or the other makes no fucking difference. Yeah. But apart from that, everything else I sort of understood. I do think that our liquid manufacturing in the UK should be regulated. I don't agree with Shortfill. And no. Tom knows, and some of you guys know, that even when we done AF, we paid to have it certified. So if we have to TPD tomorrow in 10mm bottles, we can. I'm just waiting now for 2 more flavours to drop for Birmingham Fog, and then the 4 flavours will go for testing, and they're TPD compliant. So we could have knocked out 1 million ranges of shit, quite honestly. We could have been knocking out one shots all over the place and just cracked off.
People are, though, wouldn't they? People are.
It probably makes up 85% of the liquid industry in the UK. Shit.
And this is where people get in their 100mm of pile of shit for a £5, and then wondering why you have to pay fucking £8 for 30mm. You can't get it through to some people.
No, I think
the lowest in that black market.
I just think it's the same the world over. You got people that will pay £800 for a Balenciaga t-shirt, which is a white t-shirt with Balenciaga written across it in black. I think nothing fancier than that. 800 quid.
Yeah.
Or you could buy a Ralph Lauren polo shirt for 100 quid. Or you could buy a t-shirt from Primark. Shut up, you noisy little fucker. Or you could buy a t-shirt from not even Primark. You can buy a plain t-shirt in Next for 8 quid. You can buy a t-shirt in Primark for 3 quid. The reality is, I get that there's a seat for every arse, right? I get that in every walk of life.
But then you've also got the £8 t-shirts that are fakes that people would rather pay. Do you know what I mean?
I literally had a conversation with someone last night about someone, and I was saying that I couldn't believe that X was rocking fucking Frada gear, basically. Geezer had clank, and I'm talking money, and he was rocking Frada gear. And then the geezer that I was talking to says, yeah, it's a bit like X, which was another person. And I know the second person is probably up there with selling the most liquid in the UK. It's ridiculous. Frada t-shirts, Frada trainers, Frada bags, Frada everything. And my man's balling.
Yeah.
And, look, I'll be honest, Roy. I bought Tasha a fake Moncler woolly hat for Christmas for no other reason than I couldn't get a genuine one. And Harvey Nichols was the only place that I could find that sold a woolly hat. Now this woolly hat's 250 quid for a fucking bubble hat, Roy. It didn't sit right with me anyway. But I didn't know what else to get her for Christmas, and then they were out of stock. And then an Instagram page popped up, and I got 2 Moncler copy hats for about 40 quid, 35 quid posted. I wrapped them up for Christmas.
It's not as if like the quality's substandard now, neither.
Mate, you know what? To be honest, they're fucking spot on. They're proper. But she says, I ain't fucking wearing them. You know what? For no other reason than she actually says, I'd rather wear a woolly hat from River Island that costs 15 quid than wear a fake £250 hat to pretend it's a fake £250 hat, because I'm only wearing that for me. I'm not wearing it for everyone that sees it. So on the basis that it's not real, I'd honestly just rather have a hat from Next that's 12 quid. I bought, because I wrapped up both of them. She was like, there's no way this cunt spent 400 quid on 2 hats. If I'd have just given one, I probably could have put it off, mate, and I'd have had a roll. But I didn't try and pass it off as a proper one. I just said to her, look, they were out of stock. I couldn't get one. Do you know what I mean? And she says, honestly, I'd rather just wear a woolly hat from Primark for 12 quid or 8 quid that's just to keep my head warm than a fucking £6 hat that's got a fucking badge on it that then makes it look like a £250 hat. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
These people are doing it for themselves, but then see, like if you look at the clone market, the clone mech mod market, I get why someone would want to buy a clone Able at the times. If we go back 3 years, we sold thousands of clone AV mods because they were fucking quality. And I get why some people would rock them, but I also used to see the same people saying, oh, it's a clone.
Yeah.
I'd see the other people that don't actually say it's a clone, but don't say that it's real. They just, because it looks so good. And if you put any sleeve on a clone AV and polished it up, from a distance, it looked quality. There was things I could tell weren't right on it, mainly the way that the knurling was on the outside edge of the switch. But for something sat on a desk, side on photo, very difficult to tell the difference. And then you got other people that I'd sold fake clone limitless mods to, and they've stuck an authentic sleeve on it. They've bought an authentic switch from Evolution, rocking it as an authentic mod.
I'm telling you that, no doubt at all.
But mate, to be honest, these were people that I used to see slagging off other people in different groups for using clone.
Yeah.
And then I'd see them in other groups, but I never said nothing because they bought it off my website. For me, it was sort of not, yeah, because I'd never fucking call someone out and say, mate, I know that's Frada because you bought it off my website, you prick. But I just used to think you're actually in the same week you're slagging people off for using clone. And because that limitless clone was so good, from a visual, actually, it was nigh on impossible to tell. Anyone who's had limitless against the clone or the authentic knows that the only way to tell it was one was the other was to screw the top cap off the body, because on the limitless authentic it was one piece and on the clone it was 2 pieces. Apart from that, visually, the screws, I mean, the switches screwed into the clone bodies, the clone switches screwed into the authentic bodies, the sleeves fitted, everything else was spot on. So when I first stopped that mod, I know when I spoke to James about a month later, bearing in mind James was probably one of the only UK stockists of the authentic, he says, to be honest, when you first dropped it, I was pissed off because we were obviously selling the authentic. He says, but honestly, mate, our sales of switches tripled because people were buying an authentic switch and screwing it into the clone body. They were buying an authentic sleeve off James. They're only then 90 quid away from an authentic mod. It didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
But you know what? I get £90, and then you look at the clone liquid market, and you've got people blatantly copying other people's flavors. And I get that that's going to happen because it happens. Like I've always said, you can buy some cheese curls from Aldi, or you can buy quavers from Asda. But if it's called dinner women lemon pie. It's a piss take. Like,
Yeah, right.
Our lemon puff and Adam's vape lemon puff, Tom's vape lemon puff. I'm guessing Nikki and Pixie have both vape lemon puff.
I've never tried any of you.
It's not even the take of Dinner Ladies lemon tart. It's a completely different lemon vape.
It is.
But there's people out there that have got any lemon liquid in a bottle and they go, yeah, it's sick, man. It's better than Dinner Ladies lemon tart. It's nothing like it, mate. It's just a lemon vape. There's hundreds of lemon vapes.
Yours is like a proper lemon. Sorry, go on. Sorry.
Sorry. No, with the Dinner Ladies lemon tart, I think because it was the original, and everyone always goes back to and refers to that. But I think since it's come out, people have like, perfected it and moved on from it. Do you know what I mean? And got a lot better flavours than the original lemon tart. In my opinion,
there was blatantly something in lemon tart pre-TPD that was nasty that weren't allowed in the post-TPD version because. Yeah. I still like lemon tart, if I'm being honest. I still think it's probably one of the top 10 vaping flavours ever created. And actually, the original, I'd say, is in the top 5, top 3 maybe. Lemon tart, Just Jam. They were just pure game changers for me. Whether you liked them or whether you didn't, they were the most authentic tasting. What it says on the tin is what's in the bottle, liquids that ever appeared. And they made every fucker in the UK up their game and changed the way that they were mixing and doing and whatever else. But
I've still got a 30ml 100 bottle if you want it.
What have you original?
You see, it's in one of their lunch boxes. Don't the lunch boxes with all the range in it, but
lemon tart is one of the only liquids I've ever. In fact, I didn't even buy it. A vet bought it. Tash's mum bought it, and I'd been and tried it, and I was like, "That is fucking fire, that is." And actually, I spoke to them straight away about stocking it for the shop, and they were that busy on the stand. I kept getting parred off, and in the end, I was like, "Fuck you, stick your liquid up your arse." And I got off, and our stand was probably about 4 or 5 stands down from them. And at the time, we got Grey Eyes just to the one side of us. They just launched Just Jam, which was obviously Ace of Vapes, but Grey Eyes were distributing it. We got our stand. We were next to 12 Monkeys, and then about 3 stands past them was Dinner Lady. And Ben Solana, who was working at Grey Eyes at the time, come over with the Just Jam, and he's like, "Mate, try this." And I vaped, and I was like, "Fucking hell, that is fire." And then they've done Jam on Toast, which was very authentic, but not my thing. I didn't like the fact it was buttered toast.
Like burnt toast, wasn't it? Like burnt buttered toast, wasn't it?
Proper burnt. Hey, come through proper.
It weren't my thing, but the jam itself, I was like, mate, that's fucking quality. In fact, everyone on our stand was vaping jam because Ben bought us bottles over of it. And I bought some at the show and took it back to the shop. So we were probably one of the first shops in the UK to actually have it because we had it in there on the Friday night. And then later on the Saturday, a vet come back down from Dinner Lady. She's like, "Paul, I've just bought a vape. It'd be right up your street." And it was the lemon tart that I tried the day before. And for me, them 2 flavours stand alone out of everything that's ever been dropped before. There's some fantastic flavours out there, but for actually strawberry Just Jam to taste just like jam and lemon tart to taste like proper lemon curd tart was, for me, mind-blowing at the time. And then they brought out the jam scone, which was fucking quality. As whether you like it or whether you didn't, again, authentic wise, it was fucking spot on. It was quality.
But I think at the time it was innovative. Like there was nothing else like it, and then, which is why I think it rocketed it to that next level.
Crazy.
It made them stay at that level though, because then they had to beat that every single time. Because they had such a staple flavour that they had to beat it. They couldn't release something that was subsided of them flavours.
I personally don't, and it's nothing against Dinner Lady because we stock some Dinner Lady in the shop, but I don't think Dinner Lady have ever brought out anything to rival lemon tarts. I mean, that flavour literally put them on the map, created that whole empire. And don't get me wrong, the flavours I'm not suggesting they make shit liquid. I just think that lemon tart was such a game changer to be in your first 3 flavours that you ever drop, and then never really be able to catch up with that.
I think they thought they were going to get it again when they done the rice pudding one, but I just didn't. It weren't nothing. Like, I generally don't think it was a nice joke.
But I feel like they knew that lemon tart carried them. I feel like they knew lemon tart.
Tom, I think like now. Like if you go back to that was our first expo, so that's back in 2016, March 15, 16, 15, 2000, May 2015, 4.5 years ago. That was at a time where the hype behind that flavour by the Monday after Expo was just ridiculous throughout the whole of the UK. Now, the truth of it is, Dinner Lady could have shit in bottles at that point and sold it. And the flavour after, they could have pissed in the bottles and sold that. Then they could have,
I think they did.
that's basically what happened, Adam. Like back then, once a flavour blew up like that from one company, it carried that business. And actually, because the hype was so big, it allowed them to make some shit flavours, to scrub them to one side. And now, for me, Dinner Lady make a pretty decent staple range across the board, covering various avenues of people's taste buds. And that's because that's the way the industry is now. But if they'd have dropped lemon tart this year and it blew up, once they dropped rice pudding and it was shit, it'd have fucking probably finished them, because then people are a bit like, oh, fuck that, man. They're just trying to ride that bandwagon of lemons. They were just lucky they'd done what they'd done at a time when they'd done it. And it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, everywhere they went, they dropped an award. Everywhere. And they went
Yeah, but there was a lot of money going into them as well. A lot of money. Like, I don't think I've ever been to an expo where they've only had one stand. They've always got two stands, a minimum.
Yeah, and that's because, I mean, obviously, they've got big dough. They started off with big dough. And actually, one of their stands pretty much specifically to deal with business to business, which is, if I could afford to do it, we'd have a room to one side to sit down with people and talk to them, and no music and no bullshit, and actually get down to business. But IVG done the same. Now, again, IVG generally across the board make decent liquid. There's some flavours in there that are shit. There's some flavours in there that are blinding, and I think that's the same with any liquid company in the country. They struck gold with the Bubblegum Millions. They rode that wave, and it created the brand that they've got now. Simple as that. And the actual shitstorm that was all around that blue bubblegum thing still put IVG in people's mouths up and down the length and breadth of the country. It's just that the industry is.
Yeah, it's definitely something they did themselves.
But coming back to Juul, because I don't know how the fuck we started talking. I mean, if you can imagine that the vaping industry, lock, stock and barrel, is probably worth about 10% of the tobacco industry. For 10 million users, that's a hell of a lot of billions of pounds annually. And then, as I've always said, off the back of the billions of pounds that's created by big tobacco, there's billions of pounds in revenue created by big pharma fixing the people that the tobacco's broke. So it's like a twofold fucking kick in the bollocks to America, because as the tobacco sales go down over the next 5 years, deaths will start to fall, chemotherapy and all the other cancer fucking tablets start to fall, and they just lose money left, right and centre. So it's in their interest to take control of the industry, stick it on the back burner somewhere and just let it fester away, and then start selling fags. Because the reality is, I'd say that at least 80% of UK vapers would smoke tomorrow if they couldn't get the alternative of the vape. That's just me plucking a figure out. I certainly would.
I think a lot of people would. A lot of people would. I'm just thinking about this thing about Juul, and you know, Paul, you saying about obviously the effect it has on vaping has effect on other industries. Like literally, it makes me feel like Philip Morris has put money into Juul to literally sink it, because making all this noise now about all these people being poorly, it's got nothing to do with Juul, but everybody on the news is saying it's to do with Juul. It's Juul. It's Juul. It's Juul. This time they're still making money while they're mentioning
Juul. You know what? They never ever go public and say this isn't us. This is not just about Juul. They just actually let Juul get bandied around by billions of people a day, or millions of people a day, just talking about Juul, talking about Juul, talking about Juul. If you can, the amount of money that geezer and his employer are worth is more noughts than we could probably write in the next 2 hours. Right, the geezer is minted beyond anyone's wildest expectations of even having a fucking fraction of that wealth. So for him to invest 200 billion, not 200 million, 200 billion into Juul to close it, is less than a year's turnover for the tobacco company. So it's a bit like me investing, I don't know, £20 million to shut down every other mech mod company just to have Endless left at the end of it. But actually, before Endless, I had another company that without all these new fuckers involved in, that company would do even more than Endless. And sometimes you've got to spend a penny to make a pound, or you've got to spend a pound to make 10, or you've got to spend $1 million to make 2 million, or you've got to spend 200 billion to just take back control of an industry that you've got sewn up by the bollocks worldwide, that's bringing in multi-million pounds a day. Do you know what I mean? We're not talking small numbers. 200 billion to that geezer is literally the same as me having a flurry on the website and selling 4 dirty mods in one night and getting overexcited. It's fuck all. Literally fuck all. And for me, I can remember when Phil and Dimitri came over to the UK, and we had them down at the Shady Vaping shop, and they were there till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and all that. And me and Phil would talk. Sorry, me and Dimitri were talking, and one of the things that he was impressed about our shop was that we'd not lost our sight of mouth to lung vaping during what was the boom of sub-ohm vaping, and it was just on the cusp of things changing at that time. And when he explained to me how big tobacco had took control of the tobacco industry in the 80s, it just reeks of exactly what we're doing now. Tobacco went to the governments and said, actually, you're right, we're killing people. We didn't think we was, but we are. This stuff we've got is fucking lethal. However, it's bringing in a fair old revenue. So what we'll do is we will give you X% of our revenue annually to every state, and every state negotiate their own terms with the tobacco companies. And that will go towards your healthcare. And even after you've fucking paid that, you're still left with the right chunk of dough. But in order to make it safer, we'll regulate the product, and we'll do this and we'll do that and we'll do the other. Exactly what they're doing at the moment with vaping, to a point where only 4 companies could afford to even regulate the tobacco. So during that time, when everything was up in arms, they went round and they started cherry picking their purchases, and we'll buy that company because it's good. We'll buy that one. Fuck that one to the wayside. They can't afford to even get involved, so they can just fuck off. And that's what they're doing with vaping, mate. They're buying up the vape industry, even in the UK, left, right, and centre. They probably own more of the American UK vape market than anyone even knows about. Until it gets to a point where they've got as much control as they need to say, fuck this now, we're dictating how this happens. I believe the same thing will happen in the UK within 2 years, where actually all these people that are still fronting their own company don't even own their own company anymore. And that's already started happening. It's been happening for the last 12 months, and it will continue to happen. And at a point where they've got control, mate, they can do what they like with it, which means they can either say fuck it and stick it to one side, or they can say, well, if you're that concerned about your health, it's now $11.99 for 10 ml of liquid.
Yeah.
Now, I would be spending 12 quid a day on a bottle of liquid, because if I didn't, I know after spending all the time I spent vaping, I would probably smoke somewhere between 60 and 80 fags a day now, because my vape's in my hand non-stop. So even if I go to the cheapest end of that market, it's about a tenner a box. I don't even know what a box of fags is. Around about 10 quid for the cheap ones, 9 quid, 9.50, I don't know. So if I'm smoking 60 a day, I'm going to be 30 quid in. So I'm better off spending 12 quid a day on 10 ml of liquid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some days I'll use 10 ml, some days I might probably use 20 ml over 3 days. So I'm using around about.
You see, that's when it don't look too bad, though. You know, obviously, like a price hike like that in liquid doesn't seem too bad when you put it into perspectives like that. But then, as you said earlier, people who pay 6 quid for 120 ml will go fucking out the brains.
Yeah, but that's what'll happen, mate. But look, for all the money that sub-ohm vaping made our business in the last 4 years, it still weren't as staple as the mouth to lung market made our business in the last 4 years. Yeah, it brought in more revenue, and we had that mad peak and all that. But actually, our consistency of mouth to lung sales through all that period has just been there, and probably grown even, because more people have converted. And if you think big Philip Morris gives a fuck about anyone buying 100 ml of liquid for 6 quid, he don't give a shit about them.
Yeah.
He cares about Mavis, who's buying 20 cigarettes a day, or 30 cigarettes a day, or 10 cigarettes a day. That's the market they're after. They're not asked about sub-ohm vaping because it's big on Facebook, but on the core of the industry, it's fuck all. It's a minuscule little bit on the top of it. Now, Joel ain't aiming at that because if there was, they'd have bought a sub-ohm device and sold it for £3, and they'd sell their own liquid for fucking £4.50, and they'd undercut the market and they'd capture everything. But actually, when they look at the overall picture, it's probably not even worth their time stressing about sub-ohm vapors. No. They're just not interested in it. They're interested in smokers. And at the end of the day, mate, if they can get to the point where me smoking 60 fags a day cost me £30, or me vaping 60 fags worth a day equivalent cost me £26, then you've got the point where I'm either going to smoke fags and fuck it, I'm going to die anyway, or if I'm that concerned about my health, I'm going to save myself £4 a day. Either way, they've got me strung up by the bollocks as far as spending £30 a day is concerned. That's what they want. That's all they're interested in. Fuck all else. And that's why they're not defending themselves. They'll just let this roll out, because at some point, like I said, once they've got control of it, mate, they'll either fuck it off or they'll tax it to a point where you're as bad burnt scalded vaping or smoking. Now, for me, I enjoy a cigarette much more than I enjoy a vape. I haven't had a cigarette for 9 months, just shy of actually 8 months and 26 days since I had my last puff of a cigarette. If I smoked a cigarette now, all them people would go, "Oh no, I couldn't touch one, or it makes me fucking sick." I'd blatantly punch a kid in the face, take his fag off him. I'm not going to lie. But this time, I can, whether it's because Tasha was pregnant, and it's the first time that Tasha has exclusively not smoked. It's the longest ever in 11 years. She's not had a cigarette either. So the same day we stopped smoking. In fact, tell a lie, she stopped the day before me because she made me buy cigarettes and then she stopped smoking. I was like, "Well, fuck you, I'm smoking them. I'm not throwing them away." So she's a day or two longer than me not smoking. But in the past, she's always dual used, even if it was only 3 or 4 cigarettes a day. So this time she's like, "You know what, I'm not." So I haven't struggled needing a cigarette. I have days like I've had for the last 7 years where I think, fuck me, I could just smoke a fag. But actually, I changed to the K-Fan Light. I'm still on it. I smashed my what was it? What the RSM was it I had, Tom?
You smashed it.
Smashed it to bits, mate. Fucked. I actually dropped it on the morning that the baby was born, and broke the resin. I fixed it in my office basically to a point where if I'd have super glued it and done it all, it'd have been okay. So I put it all together. I was using it because I didn't have another mod on me. And I come home on the night, dropped it on the kitchen floor, bam, fucking ripped it off properly. So I'm using an SX. I don't even know what this is. SXQ Mini or something. But
you used a mod that no longer company exists. I'm about to cry into my sandwich.
Mate, I've got everything there, and I'm not sure whether the wires are snapped or whether the ribbon can plug into the screen. Because when it broke at work, I literally picked it up in bits. All the buttons had fell out. I took it to my office, got it all back together, and it was all working. When I dropped it in the kitchen, that screen come off the ribbon. But I'm thinking that the ribbon just slots into like a connection on the screen. But to be fair, I've done that not long before she went into labour. I couldn't be arsed, so I bought this off Lee Carrington, I think, for £40. And to be fair, if I'd have thought about it, I'd have used this over the RSM anyway, because it's dual battery, whereas the RSM was single. And this is lasting 2.5 days, and then I'm just whacking another set of batteries and cracking on with it. But I've genuinely enjoyed using the K-Fan. The flavour's better. Generally, I'm not even thinking about cigarettes because Tasha's not smoking. I'm not thinking about cigarettes. If anyone comes to the house who smokes, they go outside and smoke. So I'm not really having them days where I'm like, oh. But my sister come over yesterday. She went in the garden, had a fag. And then when she left, she gave me a kiss. And I was like, fucking hell, you smell like fucking Doc Cotton, you tramp. I never used to get that before. But when I first exclusively started vaping and not smoked, and I've done nearly 3 years, once in a blue moon, I'd smell smoke. Even if someone literally smoked a fag next to me and give me a kiss goodbye, I couldn't smell fags. I couldn't smell it in my car. I couldn't smell it in the house. And yet this time round, it fucking stinks horrible.
Lingering.
Mad. Like I say, like before when I was vaping, when I first started vaping, Tasha smoked for over 12 months before we'd even started selling the stuff. She was still smoking. and she'd sit in my car next to me smoking away, and I'd have my vape, my little fucking vape stick, fucking smoking it away. And actually, I never once got that smell of smoke. Never. It weren't even like I was shutting it out. I just couldn't smell it. And even if she drove my car and smoked in there, when I got back in it, I'd never get in and go, fucking hell, it stinks in there. I never used to walk in the house and it smelled. This time round, like it's mad, because at that point, people could walk in my shop, put a fag outside, walk in the shop, and I couldn't smell it. Now, they fucking put their fag outside the shop, walk in and go, have you got any 18 milligram horse menthol, mate? You go, no, we're just waiting for a delivery, it's due tomorrow. Oh, it's the only fucking stuff that I like. No, it's not, you prick. You've just put a fucking cigarette outside. and it stinks like I can proper smell it. It smells vile. I don't know what causes that. I don't know why sometimes I can smell it, sometimes I can't. But if I was faced with spending the same amount of money to smoke as I do vape, I'm 95% sure that I'd smoke cigarettes.
If you had an option between a Juul and a cigarette, which one would you go for?
There's that thing called the IQOS.
To be honest, I tried an IQOS and I didn't like it. I actually, it literally tasted to me like when I was a fucking tramp back in the day, and I'd smoke half a fag and you put it in your box, and then it fucking it was like, in fact, my pal's missus was using one and he was out, and it was like, try it, and I was like, I get it, and it sort of smokes quite well, but the taste of it just tasted like a relit cigarette. It's the only way I could explain it. And for me, when I was a youth, I'd rather not have a cigarette than smoke a dog end out the ashtray. Some of my pals would come out to the park on the night with a bag full of fucking dog ends that they'd stole out their mum and dad's ashtray. I'm like, seriously, get a grip, you fucking tramp. I mean, I'd rather not smoke a cigarette. I understood it, and I understood where it fits into the whole market. I would not pay that money to smoke something that I don't like the taste of. And the thing is, I actually genuinely enjoy vaping. I genuinely enjoy the flavour I get from the liquid that I'm using. When I was smoking up until Christmas, whether that be 2 a day, 3 a day, 10 a day, 30 a day, depending on how bad my day was, for the last 3 months of that, I was actually putting cigarettes out to get my vape. And actually, I got to the point where I was sick of smoking cigarettes again. I didn't enjoy a cigarette. I've always been an all or nothing kind of guy. So when I start smoking, I can't smoke 2 a day. I'll smoke fucking 60 a day. And then I don't enjoy them. If I could smoke 2 cigarettes every single day, I'd still smoke 2 cigarettes every day now. Because when I'm smoking a couple of fags a day, I enjoy every drag of every fag. When I'm smoking 6 fags in an hour, you don't enjoy that. It's just pure habit.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's what makes us spend all the money and made all these fuckers multi-billionaires, because they sold us a drug. But there you go.
So what's made Juul so popular? Juul is no technology better than anything that was out when we first started. What apart from a marketing budget, which they never really marketed over here, what has made them so popular? And what's attracted kids to them? Not just a regular, any old box model vape you can buy. Why Juul?
It was one of the first better quality self-firing on inhale pod system. And for me, I personally think that Juul was probably ahead of itself. And in fact, if you think of Juul, Tom, I can remember the first person I ever seen with a Juul was Daniel Bartram, who now works at Ace of Vapes, who used to work at Grey Eyes and was the Dantix who's done Evil Cloud. He's the first person I ever seen with a Juul, and it was at a Grey Eyes meet when you knocked me out of the cloud competition, you fucking prick. And to be honest, I remember having a go on it, and I always used to advocate pod systems because from a retail point of view, I always felt that they were easier to convert a smoker to than trying to explain to them about filling up a tank, changing a coil, charging your battery. You just fuck that pod off, mate. You clip one on and you just smoke it like you would a cigarette. That's it. The trouble was, by the time they came out, there were so many people converted to vaping that the cost associated with using a Juul was quite a lot more expensive than comparable vaping on a C4 with a disposable tank and 10 ml bottles of liquid. Now, I struggled in my own shop to get our staff to push pod systems because they were converting it to money and saying, fucking hell, though, it's so much more cheaper if they buy a Joytech AO and 10 ml of liquid, and even if they buy 2 calls a week, it's just cheaper for them. And I was like, I know, but you can't convert vape into vaping. You've got to convert smoke into a pod system. Don't convert the vaping of CE4 to a pod system. Convert smoking cigarettes to a pod system. Convert the fact that this bloke hasn't got a piss about at traffic lights trying to fucking defuse a bomb, filling his tank up. He can just take the pod out, drop it into his centre console, take a fresh one, drop it in there and crack on. He can do that right at the traffic lights. No drama. When he gets in overnight, he just flops the pods in the bin, sticks a new one on. For me, pods should have been more popular 5 years ago. And I feel like now, I don't understand why pods have become so popular. Because I don't believe you can get as good a vape out of any pod system on the market as you can a decent setup.
I think it's just the ease thing, isn't it? It's just the ease of, like you say, being able to drop one pod out, put one band in, that's it, done. There's no leakage on 90% of them. There's no different calls. You have to choose between a mesh or different calls. I mean, it's on some of them, but
you know what I don't understand, Adam, is why people, like, for me, a Smok Nord is not a pod system.
No.
A Smok Nord is an e-cigarette that's got a tank that's in the shape, a different shaped tank.
Yeah. I mean, it isn't a traditional mouth alone. You can get a proper vape out of a Nord, couldn't you?
No, that's what I'm saying. You know, I think the Smok Nord is fantastic.
Yeah.
But for me personally, it's just an e-cigarette with a different shaped battery and a different shaped tank. Because you can change the core, you can put different cores in it. For me, a true pod system would only ever be disposable pod.
Yeah.
Because
Aaron Mill says the Caliburn is benchmark pod system for real.
No, mate, Caliburn are fucking fire. Caliburn, for me personally, for my style of vaping, for my drag that I like, I've never tried anything that vapes as nice as a Caliburn. Because the air draw on it is fucking spot on. The flavour on it is mediocre, but if you're using a menthol liquid pretty much is a menthol liquid. The downside to a Caliburn, for me personally, is just that the batteries are shit. But actually, if I could get something the size of a Joytech AO that took disposable pods, I'd use one tomorrow. Something where I knew I could go out in the morning, the battery would last me all day, even if I had to use 2 or 3 pods in the day. I'd happily do that. It fucks me off that I have to think about having 3 or 4. But if I used a Caliburn, I'd imagine I could go through 4 or 5 Caliburn charges a day, which means I'd have to have 5 e-cigarettes on me every morning when I left the house, and they'd all have to be fully charged, which is just ridiculous.
Back to the old days, having 12 batteries with you.
I know people. We've just put it in stock this week in the shop, and it's only because when I went to buy it, the wholesaler was right, but I used someone somewhere. And I was like, mate, that is fucking just quality. Just the fucking draw of it is perfect for me. That's what I like about this. I like the adjustable airflow, that I can get it just right for me. And actually, as good as the Nord is, I still can't get the airflow right on the Nord while maintaining the flavour and all the other things that go along with it.
I mean, it's
restricted lung.
Sorry, what did you say, Adam?
I was just thinking it's hard to get a lot of flavour out of a 50-50 or salts, isn't it? I think that's the only I
can only, mate, for our shop or our business is just coming up to 7 years old now. Sorry, we're just going into our 7th year, so sometime around this week is when we very, very first started. And in all that time, I've tried so many different rebuildable devices from mouth to lung, and I bought this in Germany. And anything else that I've used since, the flavour's dead. I used the Nautilus 2S for fucking however long, and it was fucking fire. And it's still up there on the shelf. And I vaped it the other day with a fresh corn. I was a bit like, it's just dead.
Yeah. The only RTA I've ever had mouth to lung wise is like the Berserker, and I just didn't really get on with it at all.
No, well, when I got the Berserker right, it was actually really good. But to me, it was too much fucking about to get it right.
Yeah, it's tiny, isn't it?
I literally put my build on it. Then you've got a screw. You actually put the screwdriver inside the 510 of the tank and adjust the airflow from there. So it pushes a thing up and restricts the airflow that comes in from that
tiny little hole on the side.
The little side. So actually, that airflow that's there going across that way meets a grommet that goes up from the 510. So you just put your screwdriver up and literally turn it until it's closed off fully, or turn it one turn out and it's a bit tighter, one turn it's a bit tighter. Once it's set, it's done. You can't alter the airflow without getting a screwdriver back in there and fucking about with it. It's for all this myth and oh my god, they're a nightmare to build on. I'm no expert builder as far as RTAs are concerned. The first time I ever built it, I didn't put enough cotton in it, and it was a bit gargly. From that day to this, I've never once built it and had a problem with it. And I re-wick it probably once a week, and I just re-wick it, push my cotton in, juice it up, stick the fucking chamber back on, crack on with it. Jobs are good. And the only downside to it is it works out nearly 95 quid for the one that I got. which it's expensive. I mean, for me, and I've genuinely, like, we've got the design for the Asylum mouth to long tank, and Signature Tips are working on a prototype of that for me. But even then, I think we're going to struggle to retail that in the UK for under 70 quid. Now, for me, that's a hell of a lot of money for a mouth to long tank, and it'll sell to the people that use high end stuff, and it'll be UK made and all the other things that go along with it. I've spoke to China repeatedly for the last 2 years to say, can we do a mouth to lung rebuildable that I can retail for $34.99? Now, the bottom line is I can do that, but I've got to get 20,000 tanks made. I'm not going to invest in 20,000 tanks because 20,000 people ain't going to buy them. You know what I mean? It's a lot of money. Now, if I get it made in the UK, we can probably get it made in batches of 250. And on that, if we retail it for $69.99, I'm making less money on that than what I'm making on a Slamham RDA at $34.99. And then it's like, is it even worth my time to do this? Is it worth my investment in doing it? I don't know.
It's getting that perfect vape, though, isn't it? At the end of the day, as you say, it might be 90 odd quid or 70 odd quid, but if it's perfection to you, it don't matter what you pay if it's the best vape you've ever had.
From my point, from the business point of view, I know that we could probably sell 100 of them overnight. Then it'll slow down to someone replacing one, someone ultimately saying, you know what, fuck it, everyone's saying the good old boy one. But actually, if I dropped a tank tomorrow that was 35, we'd probably sell 1,000 in a week. And then another 500 the second week, and another 200 the week after that, because it's just more affordable for someone to punt 35 quid on a tank. And if they don't like it, it's not the end of the world. They just crack on and use something else. If you're punting 70 quid, 80 quid, 90 quid on a tank, you expect it to be the fucking dog's bollocks. I would. And I did. I bought that, but only because I'd used someone else's. I used Max's from Deathwish. And actually, I said to Max, take me where you got this from, and I'm going to buy a setup because I can use that mouth to lung. Never been able to use nothing mouth to lung in all them years. I've just used Nautilus, or I used the Joytech AO for 3 years and was more than happy with the way that vape, the flavour it gave me, everything else. But it's a strange market now, though. It's really strange.
Is that the consumer that's done that, or is that the retailers? That's changed the market.
Sorry, what did you say, mate?
Is it the retailers or is it the consumer that's changed that market?
I just think the market's changed, mate. I just think there's, like, ultimately, if you think that China are knocking out tanks and retailing them at somewhere between 25 and 30 quid, even for me to do one at 35 quid is not comparable. When we first dropped Endless and we were doing RDAs at 35 quid, there was nothing on the market, anything like affordable by comparison. And even CCC, which was another Chinese UK company, they were still 40 quid or 45 quid or 50 quid. So we were still 20% cheaper, 30% cheaper. Now, I'm not cheap. My RDA is more expensive than a Bonza or something like that these big Chinese companies are knocking out. And that's purely because they will do 20,000 in a run and distribute it worldwide.
Aaron here says retailers have to adapt to the consumer, though, always.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always. Right. So I've had a little bit of a chat. I'm going to play a video. And it's called Case Closed. It's a bit of a long video as well, but it's very, very, very information. It's very information heavy. The case, this is called Case Closed. Let me see if I can get it to play. As I said, this video is around about 10 minutes long. So get your cups of teas ready and watch this video. This video very much surprised me in the fact that it's got literally fucking no views. It's got like 4,500 views. And this video was put out in 2017. And it has to do with what's going on at the minute in the States about the lung disease or however you say it. So I want us to watch this video and see what we think about why this video's got no views, first of all, and second of all, this information's been out 2 years longer than this incident that's happening. So let's see if we can watch it and we'll go from there.
Nikki?
Let me know that you can hear my audio as well. Can you see the video?
No. No, I can.
Can you see it? Let me know if you can hear the audio.
Hi, I'm Stafford, and this is Red Watch by RegulatorWatch.com. We don't know enough about the health risks of vaping. Since vapor products are so new, we lack long-term studies measuring health impacts over time. Therefore, to be cautious, we must restrict vaping and possibly ban flavors. If these measures deprive smokers from a safer alternative to smoking, well, it's worth it to protect the kids. These arguments are promulgated ad nauseum by regulators and public health authorities in the ongoing smear campaign against vaping. The Food and Drug Administration, U.S. Public Health Service, Office of the Surgeon General, and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention continue to stoke fear and raise doubt regarding the health impacts of vaping. While it's true the vaping industry staved off disaster this summer when the Food and Drug Administration took a dramatic U-turn on compliance deadlines, FDA support for vaping as a viable method to quit smoking remains in doubt. In December, the FDA launched its Every Try Counts campaign, a new 2-year public education initiative to encourage adult smokers to try to quit. Glaringly absent in campaign materials, however, is any mention of vaping as a viable tool to help quit smoking. The quit methods that are promoted include the archaic resist cravings by distraction method, get nagged by text message or app method, and of course, the trusted counseling and drug method. According to the U.S. federal government, pharmaceutical options offer the best chance of quitting. While one federal initiative turns a deaf ear to vaping, another continues the public fear-mongering with this recycled PSA running on cable news networks in the month of December.
Some say e-cigarettes aren't dangerous.
But science shows nicotine can harm teens' developing brains.
No matter how they're exposed.
Let's do an experiment to find out.
Here's a teen who won't be using e-cigarettes.
Now we need one willing to risk their brain development.
Anyone care to volunteer your kid?
Your kids are not an experiment. Protect them from e-cigarettes.
Public health attacks on...
I just want to pause that there. That is just propaganda in its best.
On vaping, as demonstrated in this PSA, typically contain weak arguments, cherry-picked data, sneaky rhetorical moves, and unfair representations. Public health propagandists swoon over science, yet respond purposefully obtuse when presented with scientific evidence supporting vaping as a safer alternative to smoking. Progressives stubbornly insist the science on vaping isn't settled, yet a growing number of expert researchers say that when it comes to the health benefits of vaping, the case is closed. One of those scientists is Dr. Riccardo Pelosa, director of the Institute for Internal and Emergency Medicine at the University of Catania in Italy. He's the author of more than 280 peer-reviewed articles, many of which present results from his groundbreaking research on e-cigarettes. Dr. Pelosa is an expert in lung disease, and over numerous studies, his research provides clinical evidence supporting the health benefits of vaping, not only to reduce harm, but in some cases even reverse the harm caused by smoking. Dr. Pelosa was the lead scientist on the first clinical trial to conclude e-cigarettes are an effective tool for smoking cessation, and his latest study is the first ever to monitor vaping risk factors and health outcomes over an extended period of time. Published November 2017 in the journal Nature, the study is the exact type of longitudinal observational research vaping critics have been calling for. Dr. Pelosa and his team followed 9 adult e-cigarette users that vape daily and who have never smoked over a period of 3.5 years. The team measured and tracked blood pressure, heart rate, and body weight, lung function, lung inflammation, and respiratory symptoms. Nitric oxide and carbon monoxide levels in exhaled breath were measured, and high-resolution computer scans of the lungs were reviewed. After comparing results with a carefully matched control group, the study found no significant changes in any of the health outcomes investigated. Now joining us today from his office at the University of Catania in Italy is Dr. Pelosa. Thanks for joining us today on RegWatch. First off, what was the inspiration behind this long-term study?
It was inspired by vapers. There were many vapers asking whether they were risking their health by switching to these products. Of course, at the time there was very little we could say besides the fact that these products were not combusting tobacco, and by not combusting tobacco were immensely less harmful. However, there was no direct evidence of this less harmfulness, okay?
Dr. Pelosa, let me ask you directly, are smokers risking their health by switching to vaping?
If a smoker switch to these products, is not risking his health, it's actually improving his health. Case closed. I mean, I think there's nobody else in the world with the experience I have, with many clinical experience I have with vapors in the clinics, in the smoking cessation centers, and never been seeing anything going wrong with them.
Dr. Pelosa, how were the participants recruited back in 2012 for this 4-year study?
We had a network of vape shops collaborating with our institution. And by asking the vape shop salesperson to identify vapers who never smoked in their life, we helped them prepare a very simple questionnaires with the definition of never smokers. The classical definition is no more than 100 cigarettes in a lifetime, and defining the characteristic of daily usage for at least 3 months.
Dr. Pelosa, why was the study modeled on never smokers who vape daily?
Zero smoking history is important. Why is that important? Simple. Because any switching study, if you want to measure risk reduction or harm reduction in switching study, we will need always to compromise with the background damage that is being already caused by smoking. And depending on the pack years and the history of smoking, some of this damage is not reversible.
So Dr. Pelosa, after following the participants and measuring and tracking health outcomes for 3.5 years, what are the main findings?
Well, the findings is there's nothing to see. That we couldn't detect any change in any of the parameters, clinical parameters and radiological parameters and functional parameters that we were measuring. Not in a single individual. So let's forget about the average because it's a small study, but there was not a single participant who had any sign of early disease on any of these parameters.
So we're talking about lung and heart here as well.
We are mainly talking about lung because I think heart is going to take even longer to detect early changes. However, we just monitor vital signs, which is blood pressure and heart rate, because they are very easy to monitor and to measure.
Dr. Pelosa, in your paper, you outlined some caveats regarding the study, one being the sample size was rather small, 2, the length might not be long enough to capture early health changes, and 3, the vapors studied consumed only modest quantities of e-liquid daily. Do you think these caveats undermine the results and embolden anti-vaping critics?
This is the first study of its type, and we can derive some knowledge. It is not true that we cannot say anything about it. Of course, I might have had a study that was 7 years long, but I'm sure these people would have said that that length was not enough. When the data doesn't conform to your preformed ideology, it is never enough. I could have done study 10 years and it wouldn't be enough. However, if by chance I would have found even a single participant with a big lung problem or with some substantial lung damage in the high resolution CT scan, I would have been famous. Yeah, because I would have highlighted some risk. And let me tell you, there is a percentage of people that are going to get risk from these products. And I can just give you a percentage. The percentage is going to be around 2 to 3%. It's the same percentage of risk and adverse events that you see in cosmetic industry when you use a cosmetic product. Just about the same.
Dr. Pelosa, one of the risks we hear about all the time from regulators and public health propagandists is that science shows nicotine can harm teens' developing brains. What do we really know about that?
Oh my God. There is very little evidence in human that nicotine can cause that kind of a problem. Most of the evidence comes from animal models, from rodents. And I listen to this frenzy of activity of adolescents and minors using vape products. I really question whether this is a problem of parents accountability, because I don't really think somebody age 15 can just go in a shop and buy these products. I don't really think somebody age 15 can steal a credit card and buy these products on the internet.
Final question, Dr. Pelosa. Why is there such an imbalance in news coverage, skewing heavily towards scare stories on vaping?
I think it's very well known that bad news dominates the headlines. And e-cigarette stories are no exception. So that's simple as that. Hence, I'm not very much surprised that in spite of the important implication for public health, even my study has had very little coverage by the media. And the irony is that is, as I said before, if our data were to show some negative findings, some lung damage, the news would have been all over the places. My work can be criticized and I'm ready to accept any criticism, but why shouldn't be another research scientist publishing very dubious data on rats, not accepting the same criticism and adding 10 times more my media exposure? I don't quite get that. It's unethical, it's inhumane, and it's immoral because it's gonna cause damage to people.
Well, that's it for this edition of Reg Watch. Before you head off,
there you go. There you have it. Right, before we get into any discussion, had anybody heard about this test before we saw this video?
No, I never have.
Paul, have you heard about it?
I don't even know what test you're talking about because I switched off about 17 minutes ago.
Paul switched off when he saw Justin Bieber pop up on the fucking video.
No, basically, so this geezer's obviously done his research, but he's only done it for 3.5 years. That's when the test came out, was obviously 2 years ago. And he's done this test and obviously saying there's no issues with vaping when it comes to your lungs. So obviously what I'm trying to show you this whole example for is because what's going on in the media at the moment, as he stated in his comments, if it had been negative, it'd have been all over the fucking media and would have been absolutely trashed as an industry. But because he's not found anything, there's no media coverage about the positives that he's found in it. What's the agenda behind all this? Let's be real. What is the agenda?
What we've said all night, that they're trying to fucking discredit it to fuck it up.
That video had 4,000 views when I visited this afternoon. It's got 128,000 views now, and it was posted on Reddit. So obviously a lot of people must have read it, gone through it on Reddit, and now it's got it out there a little bit more. But being honest, hand on heart, actually really, really scares me that people are putting. He's obviously put his foundation, have put whatever money they've put in to do this research, and everyone's just gone by and just gone, do you know what? Fuck it. He's released a paper. He's done this. He's done the other, and he literally said, you know what? Fuck him.
Fair play.
And but it's scary to think that everyone's bypassed that, and all your health medicals. This geezer's got as long as he's been a doctor into respiratory, that's what he's done, and everyone just fucked him off and gonna see you later. Whatever, we don't give a fuck. Why?
Because big pharma and big tobacco can't make money out of it. Simple as.
Yes, yeah, I agree on that.
But even as vapors, I've not heard of that. I've not heard of that report. I've not heard anybody speak about that report.
Nope.
Mate, I find that the vaping industry are very quick to share some fucking gossip, very quick to share a free competition, very quick to share negative stuff and discredit it and say that's bollocks, it's safe, but they're very slow to share positive stuff. Look, the positive stuff for me is taken for granted. That's what we always knew. But I've seen so many people in the last 4 days share this. Oh my God, I've heard an American's died from vaping. What's your thoughts? My thoughts are good. It's one less American.
Straight to the point.
No, to be honest, my thoughts are, read the story properly, and you'll realise it's fuck all to do with vaping. They're using a vape device to vape some mad funky THC. That's it.
I think they need to focus on the obesity crisis before they focus on the dual crisis. Let's be honest.
What's wrong with fat people, you cheeky cunts? Now, you know what, mate? It always does and always will boil back down to money.
It's scary to me. It really is, because this is a lot of people's livelihoods, and if they're to do this, to such a it's not vaping isn't a massive industry. It's still in its infancy, and then for them to turn around and because of whatever views they have on or whatever money it is that they're losing, the people that are in this industry and working in this industry worldwide have a lot more to lose than they do. A hell of a lot more than they do, because a lot of people depend on this industry, and that's the scary part.
It's just life, mate. It's the way money makes this world spin round, unfortunately.
Yep.
I do actually wish I'd seen that before, because I agree with what he's saying. Because, I mean, I've mentioned before, I've been asthmatic since I was 5, and since I gave up and started vaping, my asthma has absolutely improved 100%. So stuff like that, it makes it worth it, and I can show people who are also asthmatic, who have smoked, who want to vape, there is going to be an improvement. You know, it's going to get better, and it does.
I mean, I'd say when I was smoking and I couldn't breathe when I was smoking, I was smoking 45 a day, and since I found vaping, I can breathe a lot better. I can actually go up and downstairs without being out of breath like a fat kid on a Big Mac.
When you look at, I see so many people saying, "Oh, I've been on the Nick salts, man. They've fucked my chest up." I think Nick salts are bad. That's my honest opinion, man. I just think Nick salts are not good for people. And I'm not saying that to discredit. We sell Nick salts in our shop. I just see so much negative stuff around Nick salts, about people's chest tightening up and not being able to breathe properly, and I don't know, man. It's just.
I agree with you on that. I do agree with you on that, Paul. The reason I agree with you on that is because I feel like a lot of people were on such a low nicotine, and then when they went to Nick salts, they put themselves back up on an addiction. They've literally just addicted themselves back again to nicotine.
I know people rattling, mate, for 50 milligram nicotine salts. And it's like, it can't be good for you. I don't care.
Has anybody else had experiences with Nick salts that have had sort of
I do
a feeling of going up in addiction?
Only time I really vape Nick salts when I'm out on the piss, so I don't have a fag. That's the only time I really vape Nick salts, and it does help when you've had a drink, because when you've had a drink, you want a fag and you smoke. I personally smoke more when I've had a drink, when I was drinking. And I could go through a pack of 20 fags in the night, and then when you go like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, there's no shops open or anything. What are you going to do for a fag? At least with the pod on the piss up, I can use it.
Do you feel like we've oh, where's Adam going to go?
There he is. Oh,
there he is.
In and out, in and out, in and out. Shake it all about. Do you feel like we've not understood Nick salts as consumers, and as do you feel like we've not understand the reason Nick salts should be used?
No, mate. I mean, I don't understand why it should or shouldn't be used myself. I just a gut feeling says to me that Nick salts is going to come and bite the industry on the arse. That's just how I feel about Nick salts. I might be wrong. Hopefully, I am wrong, but they just don't sit right with me. Hence, me not investing 20 odd grand in the Nick salt line. I just felt uncomfortable pushing it.
Yeah, I feel like it's been used by a lot of people incorrectly. I feel like that's the way about it.
The side fire.
Over to report in there.
That's a new.
Look at. I'm going to put Paul on full screen. He's not showing you anymore, though. He's showing any more, Paul.
No.
Is that literally it?
That self-draw remake there, Paul. It's ingenious.
Is Adam gone, or is he just staring?
No, he's
Adam's there. He's back, I believe.
Adam's getting harassed on Messenger or fucking cunts asking him for free shit.
Right, so
Can you hear me?
just one last bit on this. Yeah, we can hear you. Just one last bit on this shit that's going on. How do we separate nicotine vaping from CBD, THC, cannabis vaping? How do we?
We can't. We don't need. I mean, literally, mate. I started off the show by saying it's the equivalent of using insulin in a needle and heroin in a needle and blaming the needle. That's it. You can't split it any more than that. And actually, our industry isn't big enough to start beating drums about it's not us. Just let the fucking sheep kill themselves. Do what they're doing. I don't know. I really don't know what to say. I've read as much as I can about it, and in the end, I was like, it's just fucking stupid. It's literally trying to say that needles are bad. The insulin, that diabetics are causing heroin addicts to overdose because they're giving them needles. It's crazy. They're using a vaporizer. It's what they're using. You can vaporize you can vaporize crack in one of these, I would guess. Don't make vaping bad.
They're just putting it under the same category. That's the problem.
Anyone out there that has used crack in one, let me know if it worked.
Unique selling point.
Fuck podcast, mate. We'll do a fucking crack-os.
Crack on. And if that gets released in the next couple of weeks, Paul, it's your fault. This is true. Right, let's have a bit of a giggle. This is a story that Nikki sent me last week. And
Which one's it?
It's the church, mate. It's the
church.
Right. So, you may have seen this, you may not have seen this, but the Mormon church have banned tea, coffee, and vaping. but
I didn't even hear that.
But right, so the Mormon church have banned tea, coffee, and vaping, but you can use medical marijuana and opioids. anything with anything with the word Chino in the end of it. So anything that you can buy from fucking Starbucks is banned from the Mormon Church.
But anything that ends in IONE, no, INE or ONE, they'll be able to use.
Anything to do with medical marijuana and opioids, you're allowed to use. But tea, coffee, and vaping, what a fucking mix. Paul's like, what the fuck are they?
I'm just
that means
they fuck their own daughters, and they're stressing about fucking vaping.
I'm laughing because Nicky's best friend's a Mormon, and he's got 3 daughters.
To 3 different women.
The
He's about as Mormon as a Jew.
Oh, true.
But the problem is how the fuck you going to offer them a tea and coffee when they're coming out of your fucking house? That's the biggest fucking problem.
What you do? You boil the kettle. You wait until they fucking knock on, and then you just pour it on them and just chuck a tea bag, get them job done. They won't fucking call again.
As if you can't give them a cup of tea, but they can shoot up some heroin. We're living, man.
Proper fucking crazy world. Proper crazy world.
Well, Mormons are backwards people anyway.
Well, if you're not allowed to fucking drink coffee and tea and have a vape, but you can fucking shoot home. It's a bit. Can you imagine one of their parties? They could never put a vape meet on.
The worst thing is, though, they could never do a mill and coffee morning.
Let me just woosah myself. Right, did anybody see the article I sent through as well about the teens that was done between high school kids between the age of 11 and 15? I put in last week about them asking the kids questions. Basically, they were asking kids questions about e-cigarettes, how much they were aware of vaping, how much they were aware of e-cigarettes, how many people's used it, and the percentages of the ages of people that were using it. From what I got from this test, that 72% of proxy sales were successful, and 90% of kids they asked were aware of e-cigarettes. How much of a fact do you think that is? Do you feel like proxy sales do happen a lot? This is what's in the NHS. This is an NHS printed report, Paul. I'll send you it. It's an NHS printed report, and they asked high school kids from the ages of 11 to 15 how much they were aware of vaping and how many used vaping, and they said that 72% of proxy sales were successful.
Yeah, and 90% of teenagers knew about vaping. Who gives a fuck? What percentage of teenagers know about smoking?
All of them.
I don't even get that. I don't even get the point in asking that.
Yeah, did they ask how many teenagers from 11 to 16 know about puffing? Because I bet there's fucking more of them that know about puffing and vaping.
Ask 11 to fucking 13-year-old girls if they know about sucking cock, and I bet it's all them fucking. No, I mean, you know what? I might come across as being all. I wouldn't
want to be asking that question. You'll be on a fucking register before you know it, wouldn't you?
I don't even get why. I think it's a good thing that 15-year-old kids know about vaping, because more of a
I'd rather my kid be vaping than smoking. I know that much.
I've said it all the time, Adam. I'd never encourage my kids to smoke or vape.
No.
But if they come to me and said I'm vaping, I'd much rather it'd piss me off if they started smoking.
I had this conversation with my eldest last week. I said to him, if there's ever a point in life where you feel you need to do something to calm you down, like vaping, I'm not going to be angry at you. Just come to me and I'll talk to you about it. But don't feel you ever have to. But if it's something you want to use and you think you're old enough to understand it, talk to me. Because I'd rather him have.
Tell him to inbox me and I'll sort him out a discount code. I'm joking, man. Before I start getting inboxes,
start selling it at lunchtime.
I'll just send you the eldest. It's fine. He's a moody fucker and just fuck all around the house.
Do you feel like we have a responsibility as parents to make our kids aware of what vaping is and stuff like that?
I think we have a responsibility as parents to make your kids aware about most things in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, vaping is a new thing. It's exciting. It's seeing people blow these big clouds. It's going to attract children, but that's irrelevant. Kids when my age wanted to smoke. They wanted to go out and get pissed at 11, 12 years old. It's always going to happen.
Yeah, and I think I'm trying to think where I was the other day. Actually, who I was with? Some kids somewhere. Where did I go? Trying to think. I was out with family somewhere, and we went somewhere.
Was it the farm?
That's your eyes kicking in, Paul, isn't it?
No, I'm just trying to think which kid it was. It weren't one of my kids. I was with someone else. Where have I been? Where have I fucking been? Who on Facebook knows where I've been this week because I can't fucking remember.
They're gonna say I wasn't at the zoo.
No, we never. Where did we post pictures from somewhere?
Let's have a look.
Yeah, the zoo.
What zoo?
You go to a farm or something, or a zoo or something.
Yeah, but I can't even fucking think where we went.
That's your eyes kicking in, Paul.
Where the I'm going right there. I'm going to look at my own face. Because if I can remember where I've been, I'll remember what kid it was. And then I'll probably forget what I even said this. Well, I've got my telly back.
Wacky warehouse.
Wacky warehouse.
I ain't been wacky warehouse. This is madness. Lost the fucking plot.
Sleep deprived, mate.
What did the kids say anyway?
Basically, I'm trying to. Well, hang on, where are we there? No, they weren't there because that was only my kids. So I was somewhere and I walked off with like one of I can't even think who the fuck I've been out with that's even got kids. but someone said to me something about smoking this dirty fag as well, and I was like, this one isn't dirty. This one's more healthy than a normal cigarette. But I'm sure their parents smoked. I can't remember, but like the point, like I never once sat down with my oldest kids and said, "These are cigarettes. Don't touch them. They cause cancer." I just smoke cigarettes. And the same way, I haven't sat down with my own kids and says, "If you're going to smoke, use an e-cigarette," because that's the equivalent of saying, "If you're going to smoke roll-ups because they're cheaper." I look back in the day, I mean, so like, but obviously, no girls, certainly Ava and Mia, probably can't even remember us smoking cigarettes in the house. They've only ever seen me use an electronic cigarette. So actually, I'll say to them, "Go and fetch my fag from over there," and I'll bring me my mod because I always used to call it a fag because actually replace my fag. And like Emily won't know any different. So even now, Tasha will say to him, "Pass me my mod," like a fucking what the orchid or whatever they're called. Pass mommy a mod from over there, and Emily will go and fetch it. She's 2 years old. She won't know anything different. I certainly wouldn't sit down with them and say, if you're thinking of smoking, then I'd suggest that you use a healthier alternative as an e-cigarette. It's like drinking. I mean, I'm not a drinker, but guess that's the same as being a regular drinker in the house and then trying to convince your kids they've got to drink alcohol in the fridge. I don't know. I think, like Adam says, you've got a responsibility with your kids to let them know about anything in life that could be good, bad, or indifferent. And for me, it's just about crossing a bridge when that time's right, with whatever the situation is. I don't know.
Is vaping the norm, though? Is it the norm, Paul? Is vaping the norm?
Well, it's not the norm. There's still more smokers than there is vapors, but clearly in vaping households, it's going to be the norm for this generation of children. But that's
only be the norm, so in every household. But
I mean, the only reason why I say it's more likely to be the norm, if I go back to when I first started vaping, it was absolutely alien for someone to see me using an electronic cigarette. And as I've said many times, for months and months and months and months, even though I noticed more and more people vaping, that was probably because I was vaping, and therefore it's a bit like when I bought my Discovery, probably a shit example, because when I had the Discovery, it was obviously a brand new model. But actually, within a few months, every time you see one, you notice it. And the same with vaping. When I first had it, I can't ever honestly remember seeing anyone walking around with electronic cigarette. I'd seen these stands, and I was adamant I was going to go and buy one. But I can't ever remember. No one that I knew used electronic cigarette in any way, shape, or form until I started using one. And then you obviously start bumping into people. There was people that used them come over and say, "Oh, fair play, mate. How are you getting on?" There was other people that come over and said, "Oh, has that got wacky backy in it, mate?" Fuck off, you the wacky backy thing was just the norm for probably 9 months. And then I think we started the business. We opened the shop 10 months after. By the time we opened the shop, it had already become more and more common to see people using electronic cigarette in that 9 months. So even sat in traffic. Like, I used to ride a motorbike, and obviously anyone that rides a bike knows that if you're riding down the street on your motorbike and a motorbike comes your way, you nod your fucking helmet at them. And back in the day, like 20 years ago, when I had a Range Rover, I was driving my Range Rover as a fucking youth, really, 25 years old or whatever I was. And everyone in a Range Rover or Land Rover used to flash her. And I'd be like, "Fuck, are you flashing, you prick, you know what I mean?" But then I didn't realise it was like a fucking...
like you, Paul.
Mate, honestly, look, now I'm actually quite calm by comparison, man. I was fucking 240 back then. But it was mad that within 12 months of me starting and genuinely not knowing anybody that I didn't know anyone that I could go to for advice for an electronic cigarette when I first started, because I knew no one that used one. And within 12 months, I'd converted personally hundreds of people in that 12 months that I knew, friends, family, who then got their friends and family. So more and more people within a circle that I mixed with were using electronic cigarettes. Then I started seeing people in traffic lights with them in the cars, and it just became more and more the norm. And now, as much as it looks crass, like I've gone and picked out from school, and I see these teenagers walking out with their mods vaping. Some of them with a dual type device, not necessarily dual, because I'm not bad mouthing dual, but a little skinny pod system type thing. Other people with fucking sub-ohm mods and tanks and blowing clouds, and it looks as horrible as what smoking used to look back in the day when I used to see kids smoking cigarettes. However, still don't look as bad as them walking out with a fucking fag. Just don't.
Oh, man, yeah, most of the kids are walking out with a fucking joint. That's the reality of it. Like, people want to go on about all these kids and be fucking up their brains with the nicotine. Like, they want to try fucking doing some tests on that THC shit because they're all mongs.
It's true, mate. I mean, I'm not anti weed by any stretch of imagination. I'm not anti cannabis. I'm not that. I honestly think that cannabis is probably, these are my figures out of my head. I'd say cannabis is up there with one of the biggest reasons for mental health issues.
100%. All my mates that have been puffing, they've all got some strange fucking problems.
And like, I know other people that have smoked weed for 30 years.
And they're fine,
yeah, function normally. They have a spliff in the morning, they go to work, they do their thing, they have a spliff on the night. but I know lots and lots and lots of people that are definitely THC intolerant, and it's fucking their shit up bad.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, when I was a teenager, everyone used to smoke that solid. There was no THCs in it. There was nothing like that. They used to have a laugh, and now they just turn into zombies, and that can't be good for a growing brain. It can't be.
No, it's because nowadays the plants have been that crossbred and hybrids, and the THC levels have rocketed to where it used to be 10 years ago.
Like, you can smell them when they're walking past you 5 meters away. You can smell it on them. Like, if you was a copper, you'd have a field day. Do you know what I mean?
It's madness.
It's not worth the coppers to fucking pull someone and do the paperwork.
Mate, I live like in London, and it's like, I'm just saying, it's fucking everywhere. Like, it's an epidemic.
It's the same.
But it's a norm, though. But it's a norm. That's the issue. That is a norm.
Yeah, it is a norm.
Generally, social media, and I hate slagging off social media because it's been so good to us personally from the business point of view and everything else. But the amount of people that I don't even know how many friends I've got on my friends list. Let me have a look. About 3,000 or 4,000 or something. I don't even know.
What one?
This is the longest. I've got 3,630. So out of that, I would say that there's about, I think I used to have around about 180, 200 friends, which were people that I knew, people that were pal, people that I could phone up, people that I could go to their house. So there's about 3,500 people on there that are probably associated with vaping. Some people, I don't know who the fuck they are because I've got 42 friends in common with them that are all vapors, so I assume they're a vapor. So I had them. It turns out they're just some fucking clickbait slag. And then I can't be asked.
Oh, they're just some bottle seller.
But the amount of people that I see that are trying to make cannabis use the norm because it should be legal. The bottom line is whether it should or it shouldn't, it fucking isn't right. So, so from my point of view, it's just mad. But then, out of all the people that use it, I'd say fucking 80% of the ones that post these fucking suicidal statuses about fucking, oh God, my life this, my life shit, fucking rare. And I'm like, listen, stop smoking the weed and get rid of your social media accounts. And I'm 95% sure your life will sort itself out.
Yeah, well, you get the people, well, I haven't got a job, I can't go and do it. Well, get off your ass, go and get one then.
You get the same people saying, oh, you know, I'll joke about people not having jobs and stuff like that. And I get that it's not easy, right? I get it's not easy to go out there and find a job. But then I do think that generally in the UK, people's standards of what they're expected to do to earn a living have risen to a point that's not achievable by the masses. No. So they don't want to go and work in our factory for fucking minimum wage plus a bonus because they can go and work anywhere for minimum wage. And that's my issue with minimum wage. It's not that I'm being draconian and Victorian and think that people should work for £2.50 an hour, but I do believe that there should be standards within the working society where if you work in a dirty, shitty labour job because you've got no education, then you shouldn't get paid as much as someone who's working in an office that done some education to better themselves, because then it also creates this world to want to better yourself, to do something different. As it stands now, minimum, look, I see loads of people posting up saying, oh, minimum wage should be £652 an hour, man, because the government's just cunts, because Boris Johnson's a prick, so rare. And I'm like, you know what? I know they don't understand how minimum wage affects industry. And I've seen it. I've been there nearly 25 years in the factory. And we went from no minimum wage to minimum wage to a point now where minimum wage is getting on for £8 something an hour, which means pretty much you're going to earn 15-ish grand a year on minimum wage. Yeah. That's pretty much the conversion, 15 grand a year. But there's people out there that's getting 18 grand a year in benefit. Why the fuck are they going to work for 15 grand a year? And it's I'm not on anyone that's in work or out of work or claiming benefits or claiming sickness or claiming anything. I just think that when I'm a director at that place, I've been there for 25 years. I don't earn a massive fucking £100,000 a year salary, far from it, but I earn a decent wage. I drive a nice car for me. It's given me a good lifestyle. But the people that I know that neither them or their partner work, who have got a fairly equivalent lifestyle that I've got from working for 25 years, and they're not striking a blow.
Yes, that's the same as people. I'm on about £8.45 an hour. I mean, I work 6 till 5, sometimes 6 till 7 days a week, but I do it because I need to go to work and earn my money, and I earn enough every week to pay for my vape gear and pay everybody, and I still earn enough to go to Expo and everything every year.
And I say, so I'm not decrying anyone for doing anything. If the system allows people to live a life without working, that's fine. When I see people post saying, yeah, it's not even worth me going to work because I'm only 60 quid a week better off. I always think 60 quid a week's a lot of money when you've got nothing.
You've got a lot more self-respect working, but
no,
I think
that's what I always used to say, Adam. I used to love the fact that, like, I miss my kids when I'm at work, and especially like now. I've been at home 2 weeks today. I'm back in work properly on Monday next week, and actually then it's like they've been off school, so I've seen them every day, all day long, which I don't normally do because I'm at work, so I'll see them of an evening. But actually, for me to get in and the kids run to the door going, "Oh, Dad's back from work," that fills me with some sort of self-pride, them knowing that I've been out at work. I've not been out on the piss. I'm not out playing fucking bingo. I'm not out fucking knocking up other women. I'm out there grafting, so they've got so they can have nice things. And for me, it's also them knowing that it's like now. I posted up 4 weeks ago to say that Billy was working in the factory on his 6 weeks holidays, and for someone that he wears nice clothes, he's got fucking expensive taste. But actually, I've phoned him up and I said, mate, I can get you a job in the factory for the 6 weeks holiday. And to be honest, at the start, he was a bit like, oh, fucking hell, man. It's like, it's my last, like, he's just finished school, he's just done his GCSEs. And he's like, oh, it's my last real holiday now. And I was like, listen, you're going to be taking your driving lessons in November when you're 17. You're going to want a car. You can earn a couple of grand in that 6 weeks. I've paid him full wages as well. I haven't paid him a 16-year-old's minimum wage, so he's been earning the same as the lads that work in there. But I said to him that's on the proviso that you come and you get stuck in and you do a day's graft. There's none of this oh, my dad's the gaffer, so I'm going to go and chill in his office. You're out there, you graft. If it's raining, you're out in the rain. If it's fucking that day when it was 38 degrees, he was out there in the sun. But the fact that he phoned me back after and says, you know what, fuck it, man, I'll try it. I'll give it a go, man, see how I get on. That means a lot to me that he's prepared to go out there and earn his dough and actually say, now he's looking at cars and he's stressing over the price of insurance. But he's probably £2,000 towards that. Do you know what I mean?
I agree with you, Paul. My dad, me and all my brothers work at the same place as my dad. He's our boss, but he doesn't treat us any different. We have to go and do dirty jobs. We have to go work in the rain, stuff like that. He don't treat us any different. We don't get any special treatment. If we do something wrong, we get a bollocking. Same. I do agree with you. Yeah, we have to do the same what he tells us. It's not Dad when he's at work. He's our boss.
But it's all I know is from being in that factory for 25 years, people's expectation of what they're expected to do for a week's wage has changed massively in 25 years. Because we're a galvanising factory. Anyone that knows anything about galvanising, the factory's a shithole. And it's not because we don't spend money on it. We probably spend £1 million a year maintaining that plant. But it's just self-destructive because of the night. Anyone that knows galvanising will know that you don't get a clean galvanising factory because you just don't. But people come in there and go, you expect me to work in here for fucking, I think we pay about $8.50 an hour, plus shift allowance, plus timekeeping bonuses, plus tonnage bonuses. So it's actually, it's probably about 80, 90 quid a week more than basic minimum wage.
Yeah, that's more than I'm on, to be honest.
That's what I'm saying. But they're graft for it, Craig. You know what I mean? We expect them to work hard because most of them aren't educated. Most of them haven't got a pocket full of degrees. And that's the sort of person that we're looking for. Someone who's going to come in and do a hard day's graft and get paid a reasonable amount of money. But before minimum wage coming, we paid more than working in a florist considerably. Do you know what I mean? And then you had a choice then to go and do a nice clean job in the florist or get dirty shitty in the galvanising factory and earn an extra 150 quid a week. When the minimum wage I had people in our factory saying, why the fuck should I work here for minimum wage when I can go and work down the road in the cardboard box factory for the same day? And I'm saying, well, fuck off to the cardboard box factory then. But I shouldn't be having to do that. They should be saying that I've made a conscious choice to work in this shitty factory because I earn that extra money. I work hard, but I earn a nice wage. The people that were on piecework in our factory 25 years ago were earning 500 quid a week 25 years ago. Bearing in mind, 35 years ago, you could buy a modest semi-detached house for £7,000.
Yeah.
And they were earning £500 a week after tax 30 years ago. Do you know what I mean? They were earning clank, but they grafted like fucking dogs for it. And that was the sort of beat, that was the nature of the beast. Now everyone's a bit like, oh, I'm not working that dirty factory for minimum wage. I can go. We've got a factory opposite us that cuts up foam that goes into garden furniture cushions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they're saying, well, I can go and work in the foam factory for minimum wage. I'm not getting dirty. I'm not breaking my back. But then as an industry, I can't afford then to say to our lads, well, you know what, I'll put you on £12.50 an hour. Because it'll up our wage bill across the business by £300,000. We didn't make £300,000 last year. So where does the money come from? And you try explaining that to a workforce, they just see me driving around Discovery going, oh, you must be making fucking loads of dough. Why aren't you paying us 60 quid an hour, you fucking miserable prick? But obviously, we've got to balance the business and make sure that it's making money so they've got a continued future. And it's the same in the vape shop. Quite honestly, I wouldn't pay normal people to sell. I wouldn't pay minimum wage if I didn't have to in the vape shop because they're not breaking their balls. We've got some very knowledgeable staff. We've been lucky with our staff, or we've trained at whatever way you want to look at it. We've got good staff. But does it warrant £8 something an hour to work in a vape shop? Personally, no, I don't think it does. But I have to pay that because legally that's what we have to do. But then, I've got some of the staff in the vape shop going, oh, God, I've got to do another shift this week because such and such was on holiday. I'm like, listen, lads, you're earning the same money as what they were earning in the factory, and they're fucking grafting for 40 hours a week non-stop. They stop for their break, and then they get off the break, they're grafting again. Here, you sat behind the counter, okay, you're stocking up shelves and you're cleaning cabinets, but you're not going home at the end of a fucking shift in a vape shop with your back broken too. And yet the wage comparable between the vape shop and the factory is negligible, really, because minimum wage dictates that we have to pay a certain amount. You know, I mean, it's mad. But then when I talk about it, I know people go, "Oh yeah, you just want to make more and more money." I don't. I want a stable business, whether that be the vape shop or the factory. It's got to be stable to carry on, so people carry on earning a wage, so we can carry on as a business and give everyone as much longevity in a job as we can. That's what business is.
If it's not a viable business, it's not a business, is it?
Exactly, Adam. I said to my bloke, we shut down one of the factories about 5 years ago now. We bought it 2001. So 18 years ago, we bought that factory and it was losing money when we bought it. And we bought it for a song, but we bought it for the land because actually the other factory at the time, the lease was coming up in 5 years. And for us, if we were to commission a brand new galvanising factory tomorrow morning and decide that we're investing 8 million quid in a galvanising factory, it'd probably take us 2 years to get that factory commissioned. So it's not something you can just click your fingers and say, right, yeah, we'll have a new factory, we'll get it up and running by December. It just wouldn't happen. So when we had 5 years left on the one lease, we bought the other company because we bought it with the land. And that company lost us money for 10 years. The new factory cost us money for 10 years till we decided to shut the factory. Now, I battled with that workforce for 10 years. And all the time, all they're saying is, we need more money. And I'm saying, lads, we're losing money. So I can't pay you more money because it just means I'm going to make you redundant much, much quicker than if I don't pay you more. In the meantime, let's see, can we up the production? Can we save the waste? Can we get to a point where if it's just breaking even, we were losing £250,000 a year on that factory for 10 years. So if we can get to a point where it's breaking even, it's paying 90 people's jobs. It's contributing to the overall running of the business because we had 3 factories at the time. So if we can get to a point where it's breaking even, it's not costing us money. It's still sort of making us money because some of the office staff were doing stuff for the 3 factories. Some of the people are employed across the 3 factories. So even if it doesn't cost us nothing, but it doesn't make us nothing, it still helps contribute towards the overall group. And all they're saying is, now we need more money. And I'm saying, you're just going to come in one day and the roller shutters are going to be down and there's going to be a sign on the door saying we're done. What's the fucking point in that? And if I'm going to do that in 6 months, I might as well fuck you off now. But I get that employees don't appreciate the nuts and bolts of the running of the business. Because I say, when I'm pulling in my new car, fucking 70-odd grand, straight away they're going, oh, fuck you now. Paying for your car, are we, Paul? Well, yeah, because that's what the business is there for. But then on top of that, it's costing me £1,000 a month personally in tax to drive that fucking car. So it's not some like freebie that the business is subsidising. Do you know what I mean? It's just mad. And I don't know, man. I've seen so much bullshit about Boris Johnson in this last week. And you know what? I've seen today that he's suspended Parliament, that the Queen's granted him. I'm like, fucking go for it, mate. Do your worst.
Yeah. He done well.
Mate, I just think that if there's no other way to deal with it than how he's dealt with it, because there's no way of sorting out Brexit in an airy-fairy way of going around in circles. So someone's got to say somewhere, you know what, fuck this, we're out. If we can strike a deal, jobs are good, and if we can't, fuck you, we'll have to sort it out thereafter. And that's how, I don't know, mate, we fucked up times ahead, maybe, but maybe not, who knows? We see what happens, man. It's just is what it is.
You'll be at the forefront of the industry, making sure we drive back our industry. Yeah?
Hey, you know what, Tom? I still think that generally, my personal opinion is that us being me and Tasha and our business and our staff, including yourself, we should be able to just do what we're doing at a level that pays the bills, pays the wages. I don't expect great things from it. Like I've said many times, we're not making as much money now as what we were making fucking 4 years ago, by any stretch of the imagination, but it pays the bills and there's a little bit left on top. And if we can do that, I'm happy, because I'm still at work. I'm still earning my wage. My wage from my job pays my own personal bills in the house. Anything the vaping gives us a little bit of a bonus on top. So I'm comfortable with that, and I'm comfortable that generally we should have a business that carries on. Unless legislation, regulation, whatever, backs us into an absolute corner where we just can't afford to move forward, then we have to just call it a day and crack on and live my life the way that I've carried on living it. I ain't lived no extravagant life in the last 6 years. I've bought a few pairs of nice shoes and a nice watch and stuff like that, but I'm not living in some fucking castle relying on £20,000 a week coming in the fucking door to pay my bills, because I didn't change my life. I'm still in the same house I've been in for the last 11 years. I've always drove a nice car because it's a company car. We've bought Tasha's car out the vaping business. Apart from that, my kids have always had nice shoes on the feet. We've always had food in the cupboard. Our house has always been decorated nice. Nothing's changed really. So if it goes tomorrow, it's just been a bonus in the middle of the last 10 years. Simple as that. And that's how I've viewed it like that from day one, mate. I never thought we'd get 7 years out of it. From the day that I started, I said to Tasha, if we get 2 years out of this before it gets regulated, that's all we're going to get. And for the last 7 years, every year I've said we've probably got 2 years left. Well, that will come to fruition at some point, and we will only have 2 years left. But I'm not sure when it's going to start, and when it finishes, we just keep cracking on and doing what we can do in the meantime.
Yeah, definitely. Right, we'll come to the end of the show. This is status of the week. So, Paul, we was away last week. Obviously, the week after you was away. Obviously, congratulations of the new baby, now named Bobby. Congratulations to you and Tash. So that was status of the week. 2 weeks ago was your status about the brand new baby. So this week's status of the week is a little bit different. It is using the logic that if you own a tattoo gun, you're a tattoo artist. I've just bought a socket set. If anyone needs their clutch to it, I also own a pair of scissors. So haircuts are free for a tenner. I also... Come on. Come on. Fucking thing, what, Lord. I have also some insulated screwdrivers. So if you need your house rewiring, I'm your man. And the rest of the status, what, Lord? Fuck's sake.
I've also got a screw level and a trowel if you want an extension knocking up.
Banging status. Don't know where it came from, but banging status. Absolutely wicked. So that's the end of the show. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Really appreciate it, Craig.
Some wanker on my friends list who's got a fucking tattoo gun from eBay. Literally, he's got on his employment status that he's a tattoo artist. And I'm like, you're not. You're a prick. You're not a tattoo artist.
It's not me.
No. You know what, Nico? If you claim to be a tattoo artist, I'll tell you the same way, right? Because you're not a tattoo artist. It doesn't mean that you can't do a tattoo. But there's a massive difference between I can go and buy a tattoo gun tomorrow for 50 quid off eBay, and I ain't a tattoo artist. I can just fucking scribble shit onto people's arms, legs, faces, backs, or whatever they want me to do. This cunt's got a tattoo artist as his job. And he's posting up saying he's got some fucking slots available. You're fucking right, you are, mate. You've got the whole week available because we ain't got a queue of people waiting to fucking for you to tattoo their fucking chest, mad geezer.
I tell you what, I'll bring a kit down to Expo and let you tattoo me.
Huh? No, I can't do it. They won't let me do it at Expo for fucking health and safety reasons.
We'll do it in the cloud comp room. It's fine. You won't know.
I'll practice on you if you want me to.
That is definitely something we need to put into a live feed.
Next
we'll
week,
do it from the shop.
I'm back at work on Monday. We've got to. I will be announcing sometime next week what our plans are for Expo. So then we'll discuss it more in depth on next Wednesday's show. But we have got a pretty big stage available to us at Expo for the Cloud Comp, and we're going to be doing some online competitions through Mod Wars page and getting some contestants and etc. So we've got, I think it's probably 9 weeks till Expo, maybe 8 or something like that. I don't know. It's not fucking far away either way. It's 8 or 9 weeks away, maybe 7. Yeah. Who knows? It's creeping up on us. So we're going to be busy for the next 7 weeks with us, the team, our ambassadors, etc. Just really trying to get some interest into the Cloud Comp. We'll have cash prizes, which has not been done for a long time at Expo. Just got to be old school really there, and some back-to-back in and all the norms, some run what you brung and some 18650s. I'm probably going to be 18650 stroke 21700s because there's so many 21700 mods available now. So
that means Jack will be busy 48 hours before.
Huh?
That means Jack will be busy 48 hours before.
He messaged me last week saying, mate, what are we doing about the stand? I said, look, let me get back to work next week and we'll get it all sorted. I want, by the first week of October, everything we need doing. So I've got 4 weeks really to sort my shit out. Because I've been, for the last 6 expos, I've said, you know what, we'll get on it early. And we just haven't, we just don't get on it early. So even down to like next week, we'll be getting our apparel sorted for the team members and what we're going to sell, deciding what we're putting on the stuff we're selling. I've got some mods being painted in some fire colours as well. So we've already started working on that. So I'm a little bit ahead of schedule because normally I think Dave painted the last lot of mods and finished them the day before Expo. That's because that was like a last minute, let's paint some. But actually, we've been and bought some paint today. He's got to pick up some more paint on Friday. So, yeah, it's going to be a busy 7 weeks leading up to Expo. And then we've got this fantastic platform given to us by Expo to try and get some life back into the old school vibe of cloud chasing, fucking about, blowing clouds, competition back to back, maybe some tricking. I've got to speak to Taz at Grey Eyes and the VGod team and see if they're interested in doing some trick stuff in the arena that we've got. So, but we will announce more on that on next week's show.
Awesome. That's us wrapped up. We'll see you next Wednesday. Thank you, everybody who's watched and joined in. Peace out, everyone.